We'll call the November 6th City Council meeting to order. Commissioner Smith, would you give us the prayer pledge and fact of the day, please, sir?
Let us pray. Our God, our Father, once again, we come before your presence, hearts full of thanksgiving. Thank you, God, for all the blessings bestowed upon us, for this opportunity to continue to be servants of your city. We ask you, God, to continue to bless the city, lead us and guide us in the way you have us to go, that all that we shall say and do be pleasing and acceptable in your sight. In thy Son, Jesus' name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Fact of the day. On November the 5th, 1941, the Japanese fleet received a top secret order that in a 9-month time, Pearl Harbor is to be bombed, along with the militia, the Dutch, East Indies, and the Philippines. Tokyo delivered the order to all permanent fleet commanders that not only the United States and its protectorate, the Philippines, but British and Dutch colonists in the Pacific were to be attacked. War was going to be declared on the West. On the morning of December the 7th, 1941, Japan launched a sneak attack on the U.S. Pacific Fleet's base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii as part of a plan to eliminate any potential challenge to Japanese conquest in Asia. The attack compelled the United States to enter World War II as a combatant and to wage a costly, bloody struggle to defeat the Japanese Empire. The attack killed 2,403 service members and wounded 1,178 more, and sank or destroyed 6 U.S. ships. They also destroyed 169 U.S. Navy and Army Corps planes. Fact of the day.
All right. Looking for approval of the regular City Council meeting minutes and the capital improvement workshop minutes.
That would be so moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez,
Second.
second by Commissioner Anderson. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Jacob, any changes to the
Yeah, we have a few things here. Item 10 under the consent agenda needs to be pulled. That one's not quite ready yet. Also, item number 17, I'm recommending that we pull that one and include that in the discussion under the public hearing. Item number 2, ordinance number 3081. They're related, and there's been some questions from commissioners, and I think that needs some discussion there. And then also, you'll notice that there is not scheduled a second reading for ordinances 3079 and 3080, which is the 2300 West Poncan Road, small scale future land use and rezoning. There was a misprint in the advertisement, so that will be heard on November 20th, if anybody's here for that. That's all.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next up, boy, I got my good friend here in the audience today, and we're just so happy to have Victoria. How many years have we?
How many years?
Yes.
Probably 20.
So anyway, it's the family proclamation, which we all, agree that families are the nucleus of what we all believe in. And so I want to read this proclamation. And it states, whereas the family is the foundation of the city of Apopka, it is the family that instills pride and a sense of community in our city. And whereas Apopka is blessed with a multitude of families, an essential part of its cultural, social, and spiritual fabric. And where strong families are at the center of strong communities, and we should take time to honor the importance of families and recognize the special connections that support and strengthen them throughout the year. And whereas during the celebration of family, we will also remember and pray for the families of our men and women serving in the military. And whereas by strengthening the family unit, our communities, cities, and a nation will be stronger for future generations. Now, therefore, I, Brian Nelson, Mayor of the City of Apopka, by the virtue of the authority vested in me by the City of Apopka, do hereby proclaim November 2nd, 2024 through November 9th, 2024 to be Week of the Family. So with that, you want to say a few words and we'll get a picture.
Thank you so much. Apopka is a wonderful place for families, and we appreciate all the events that you hold all year long. And we'll be putting those on our Week of the Family website, so help get the word out so people can come and attend those. And every year you do such a beautiful job with the proclamation and presenting it, and we just thank you very much.
Thank you.
So,
All right. So we'll get a quick picture. Okay. All right. Radley Williams, come on down.
Good afternoon, Mayor Commissioners. I'm here this afternoon to introduce a presentation. Ms. Kimberly Schmiel is here from the Apopka High School Marching Band Boosters, and she's here to announce a exciting fundraiser project for the band and an upcoming trip in the next 2 years. So I'll go ahead and introduce her and have her come on up.
Thank you, Radley, and good afternoon. My name is Kim Shamil, and I am a proud parent and volunteer for Apopka High, a Blue Darters Marching Band. Go Blue! And I'm very excited to announce that we have been invited to London to march in the parade for January of 2026. Very exciting indeed. Before I talk about London, I just wanted to, if we could go to the next slide, wanted to give you some.
You should have a clicker.
Oh, I can do that.
You can do it.
It's my first day.
You have the power.
Thank you. Okay, so we are a band of 260 students, very active, especially with the football season, and we are one of the largest bands in Orange County. We just completed our musical performance assessment last week, where we achieved the highest rating possible, superior, as a marching band. Our theme was Pirates of the Caribbean, and they were incredible. If you were there, you could watch their feet perfectly in sync. And in March of 2024, we represented the city of Apopka and Orange County, and we marched in the Cherry Blossom Parade in Washington, D.C., right in front of the White House. These kids are absolutely incredible. And to have the opportunity to be able to go on this trip in January 26 is a lifetime of an experience for kids, because it gives them an opportunity to travel, not only travel but abroad and see London. The expenses would include, it's all expenses paid, so it would pay for the parade itself to be able to participate in all of the events they've included in that itinerary, which is week long. It also includes food, hotel, etc. We, of course, are not too sure yet on pricing because it's a little too early to look at flights. But they'll be able to march, do some sightseeing, and have the trip of a lifetime. So I'm here to humbly request assistance from the beautiful city of Apopka, because we need to give all of the kids the best chance possible to be able to attend this parade. And we do have some time to fundraise, and we are actively doing so. We have a fundraiser coming up where we're going to be selling Papa John's cards. I think that is very soon. And we also will have another event where we're going to have people come to Froggers. I think that's November 13th. Please feel free to come. 20% goes to the marching band. But any funding that we can receive would be tremendous to help as many kids be able to take advantage of this opportunity. And that is all I have. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your time. Are there
Well,
any questions?
Yeah, one question. Tell us how you applied or how did you get selected? Just how that happened.
Man, that's a great question, Mayor. I really don't know. We have got an announcement from Mr. Langford, and the people that organized the parade came to the high school one day. They flew in from London, and we had a live video, and they gave Mr. Langford like a special plate, and they gave one of our kids an umbrella that they had to hold on to make sure it doesn't rain that day for good luck. And yeah, I have no idea how we did that. It was really cool though. And I was a marching band student myself. And I grew up in Connecticut, so my experiences were not nearly this cool. Um, so I thought, let's take advantage of the opportunity and the time we have, and let's represent the city of Apopka and
That's awesome.
let these kids perform.
Can I
Sure,
ask one
absolutely.
question?
Yeah.
Okay, so I see the dates starting really next December, so you're starting very early to fundraise.
Yes.
Okay. When is the deadline to have the funds available, and how much are we looking at?
Thank you for your question. We would really need to have the funds. What I would say we would need the funds by May of 2025 because our final payment, I believe, is in November, which is a month before we leave next year. So we would look for, but they need like a final, like who is really going by May of 2025.
And what is the cost, total cost, or about the cost of what it's
We're still working on that.
okay?
I don't have a final number to share today, but we're working on it and we can get a number to you when we know more.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Are
Absolutely.
the students really excited?
Oh, they are.
They are.
I have a video. I recorded all of it. And they also performed that day as well. So they're very excited to be able to go.
Any other questions?
Just a quick question. Has Orange County School Board committed to any funds or anything to
I'm
provide?
sorry,
Orange County School Board, have they committed to any type of funding?
not yet. I started with Mr. Mayor here, but I was going to reach out to other folks as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know there's over 200 kids in the band. Is there a process to determine who actually gets to go if the funds are not all there?
There is I'm not sure if I'm directly answering your question at the moment. They have a 5-to-1 ratio for the students to the chaperones. So there is the kids who can go, it's anybody's able to go, but for everybody to be able to go, we need one chaperone for every 5 students, if that makes sense. And I think it really boils down to funding. How much can everybody who can afford it, who is able to go?
Okay.
One important question.
Yes.
So that means that all the students who are going to go are going to be required to have passports.
Yes.
Okay.
And we're working on that as a group.
Okay.
And we have someone who's already working on that too.
Okay.
And that's a separate from everything else. So it's a separate process and payment, etc.
And that's a separate expense also for
Yes.
passports.
Yes, it is.
Mr. Nesta?
Yeah, thank you so much for coming in and presenting for this and bringing this to our attention. It's an incredible opportunity for sure. I guess once you have kind of some set numbers or a little more confident numbers, if you can just either send us an email so we're all aware of it, and then we can start game planning from there of how we can support you.
That would be amazing. Thank you very much, Mr.
Absolutely.
Nesta.
Thank you for coming out this afternoon.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Take care, everyone.
Okay. All right. Consent agenda. We have 18 items. We're gonna scratch item number 10, and then 17 we're gonna bundle up with business action item number 2. So look for a motion to approve all 18 consent agenda items except 10, and 17 will be
A discussion, he said.
up for discussion with number 2 of the business items.
And Mayor, I'm still not comfortable with number 11.
Okay, so do you want to discuss it?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll bring that down as well. Then we'll
Which number was that?
number 11. Okay, so number 11, we'll make that our first business item. Okay, so looking for a motion to approve items 1 through 8, scratch number 10, bring business or consent
No, one
agenda
through
item number
nine.
11 as our first business action item, and 17 will be a business action item with number 2.
You left out number 9. You said 1 to 8, and there's
Excuse me, 1 to 9 plus,
yeah.
yes. So 1 through 9, 12 through 16, and 18.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we'll bring up the interlocal agreement with Orange County, Apopka Road Transfer. Gene Sanchez.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Jean Sanchez with the Community Development Department. This may look actually a little bit familiar to you. It went before you this year, actually in June, and it was an interlocal agreement that was combined with 2 other roads, one of which is Binion that you approved previously at a previous meeting. And this one is the Apopka Road. The reason why this is again coming in front of you is because we had a slight language revision that Orange County asked for when it went to their Board of County Commissioners meeting. And that language revision, I think it's their template language for their agreements, and we kind of just missed that. It had nothing to do with really the limits of the segment of Ocoee Popka Road that we're proposing to get transferred over to the city. Um, and with this transfer, I'd like to point out that there's also a property at 1102 Ocoee Popka Road that the county is also conveying over to us as part of this agreement. I'm happy to try to take any questions you may have. Go ahead, sir.
To Commissioner Smith's, the reason he pulled it, so can you give us a little more precise detail on the change that Orange County made from what we
Um,
approved?
sure. The change has to do with the amount of days that they will accept, I think, the agreement, and when things, when they would start to, because with this proposal or this transfer, they also propose to mill and resurface a portion of Ocoee Popka Road. So they changed a little bit of the timeline to on that one. I think it required them to mill and resurface within 12 months that we accept and approve this agreement, and another, if I can remember, I think another several months to actually get the actual milling and resurfacing completed.
Mr. Smith? Any-
Uh, yes. This is also a section of the road that previously we had talked about 4 laning. And so I just need to make sure that before we take this road over, that we have some idea as to how this is being funded, who's taking care of the 4 lane of the road, and also the drainage issues that may be a part of that road as well.
It's my understanding that if you remember the Ridge plan development project, we had an agreement with them to help with the widening of Ocoee Popka Road, and it's my understanding that they already have a scope for that work. As far as funding is concerned, I believe there's $1 million that was funded for this previously. I don't know where that sits now. But luckily, we happen to have our previous transportation planner who I inherited this project from, and who also is our traffic or transportation consultant. So if you'd like, I'll go ahead and invite her and just give you a more clear picture of it.
Please do.
Pam Richmond, 3131 McGuire Road, Orlando. Yes, I'm a consultant now, but I am one of your consultants. Um, I'm going to take you back to why we're doing this, why you're doing this. And I'm sorry to say we because I was heavily involved. The county told you they would never do anything more than patch a pothole. They were not interested in helping widening it. They felt like it was the city's responsibility. And so you made the decision that you wanted to work with consultants to widen the road. So we negotiated. This has been in front of y'all. The agreement was in front of y'all for this segment. That's going to be widened. It's actually from Harmon Road to 13th Street. And the reason we took the piece out from 13th Street North is because of that flooding that you're talking about. Orange County acknowledged it and they told us 3 years ago they were going to fix it, but they haven't done anything. I did happen to notice online earlier this week that they put out an RFP to get someone to finally do that. So that's in the works. There are other issues up there. They took on the responsibility of going from 13th up to Hawthorne, but that's a separate thing. Now, the agreement to widen from 13th Street down to Harmon, there's an agreement in place with the Ridge Development, and they scoped the design phase, and then you'll move on to construction. As a backup, when I had control of the budget, I put $1 million in the budget to do the design, which is about what it costs. They're supposed to do it just to make sure there was always enough money there to pay. Their impact fees are coming into that pot, and then they will get reimbursed as they do the design. But the consultant that they selected to do it, it's been probably long enough where they'd want to rescope it. But the bottom line is you need to issue a PO to the consultant so that they can start doing the design. The money's there one way or the other. So got to do that first. Then after that, then the money as it comes in per this agreement, all the development from the ridge and some of the developments around it is supposed to go into that same pot of money to start paying for the construction. And it's going to be a considerable amount. I can't tell you off the top of my head what that cost is today, but I will tell you the design for just that segment is going to be about $1 million. Orange County's supposed to, I was disappointed to hear that they moved the date to resurface the road when we put together this agreement with them. They said, just leave that year in there. We think we're going to do it at the end of this year, but clearly they're not. They wanted to move it out. That 4-lane segment, existing segment of Apopka Road clearly needs some more. I don't know if you've driven on it lately, but it's got some patches. So they had a change of attorneys. I think they had 3 reviews. It's been a long time coming to y'all. So the bottom line is the money for the design is there. You just need to issue a PO. You have an agreement with the consultant to do the work, so you don't have to go through the procurement process. That's the way the agreement was set up, and that's the only thing that's holding you back from getting started.
Okay.
Any other questions from council?
I have a couple questions. Mrs. Richmond, welcome back to the podium.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here to answer some questions here. It was my understanding that we were going to widen this road all the way down to Keene.
That's the piece south of the 4-lane segment is a different agreement.
Okay, but
It's
that still is in the, from your understanding, from your experience before you left, that was the.
It was still in the works. There are some issues down there that are still unresolved.
Okay.
But the first piece that you're going to see is the signal at Martin that desperately needs to go in. And you're going to see it become a 3-lane segment. And then once the drainage issues could get worked out, it'll go to a 4-lane segment. And that is, I think it's about 60% design.
Okay. And then do you know who on our team within staff is managing this project and shepherding it through to completion?
Is it the consultant that we have, Diana?
Well, I'm asking somebody on
Diana's
staff.
helping. You don't really have anyone on staff that's qualified to be managing these kind of projects. That's why I had consultants in place. The consultant that was helping with the southern piece I was having their work reviewed by Diane and one other consultant. And then on the northern end, nobody is doing anything with that. Once you get the purchase order issued and you can get the work done on that, my recommendation to you is that you take one of your GECs and you have them manage the design. Not that I don't trust the consultant, but another set of eyes, especially when it's city money, you know, essentially it is, you need somebody that's qualified. Yeah. Um, I would recommend that you put one of your consultants in place. I don't know, you know, this all fell under community development when I was here, and I'm not really sure
Okay,
where it is. I've been helping where I can just because I have a soft spot for y'all.
understood. Thank you so much again for being here.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay, anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter?
Rod Olson, 3156 Rolling Hills Lanes in Apopka. Just questions. The question is the storm, most recent hurricane that we dealt with, exposed so many drainage issues that we have. In addition, this stretch of road has no sidewalks, which is, again, an additional cost. Why would we assume more liability and more cost at this time when we've got all these other current problems we have to address because of our lack of infrastructure? Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion to approve the interlocal agreement with Orange County to transfer the Apopka Road from Orange County to the city of Apopka.
And Mayor, before we entertain, we're going to ask one more question, and that's in reference to the piece of land that Orange County is considering transferring to us as well. Have we done a study on that piece of land to see if there's any contamination there?
Are you asking why we're taking this? Being conveyed. We did ask Orange County to convey that over to us. I think it's laid vacant for a while. As I understand it, we're gonna turn it into an open space that would benefit the entire side of the city because I think we don't have much recreation down there. I think that's the plan for now. You're talking about 1102 Ocoee Apopka Road.
Yes, I thought this was that dump, that hole.
It's not technically a dump in the classic definition of a dump. As far as I understand it, it
that
was a
cleanup from storm.
hurricanes.
It's not a contaminated site. We got all the documentation. You have all the documentation that looked at it. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
That looked at it. It's like where they put road and tree debris, and it's that kind of dump site. It's not like a
Cement.
yeah.
Right.
Trust me, I know.
It's-
I tromped all over it. Took a couple headers out there, so I saw it up close and personal. It's not a contaminated site with anything that we have to worry about. But we got about 350 pages of site assessment from the county. In fact, the county actually said they might like to partner with the city to make that. The plans, at least at some point, was to do some kind of bike park, like a bike track, and the site is perfect for it. And then there's a partnership with the Ridge next door where that little lake is, and they're going to make connectivity to it, perhaps donate some property over there so that you can have even a bigger site, dog park, I don't know, walking trail. It's again, I tromped on that site too. It's very nice, and it's an excellent partnership if the county wants to partner, and definitely the Ridge.
But to answer the question very directly, there's been no phase ones or phase twos done on that property in any capacity that we know over that is conveying to us that we have in our due
I
diligence
think I
files.
saw phase one.
Yeah, the county made it clear when they gave it to us that it was a landfill, but it's not a contamination site. There's nothing there to be worried about. They did all that. All that information's in the file.
And to be clear, we owned it before they owned it. So
Oh.
we still have, if there was a problem, we have responsibility as well. So it's, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's all, debris, wood and concrete blocks or busted up blocks. I mean, it's just construction debris that's not, it's not contaminated.
I thought I recalled that the environmental assessment didn't say it warranted a phase two, but I'll double check. Um,
And if you can convey that, a copy of that to everybody as
Sure.
well, just that we have it as well.
Yep.
Thank
Sure.
you.
Oh, and there are going to be sidewalks and
Is
and
it,
a
is it
multi-use
still in
trail
use?
all up
No,
Apopka Road. It's
it's
being
been
designed with the construct.
Cleaned up?
it's been shut down for, gosh, 20
Oh, yes,
years,
yes.
30 years, a long time, because
Yeah.
there's some big trees in there that was,
It's been shut down for a while.
yeah, okay.
And so you're saying that with the widening of the road, it would include sidewalks and
Yes.
Okay.
And a trail.
And a trail. Sidewalk on the side where there's not the trail and the ridge is developed is uh, um, giving 30 feet of right of way. I think that all the right of way that's needed has been accounted for. The county's giving some. So
So who's going to be working on getting a consultant then?
the ridge is
the
going to
ridge?
put someone under contract. They already negotiated with somebody. And the reason we did it that way was to not have to go through the city's process. But I assure you, the city was intimately involved in the reviewing things and making recommendations to them as to who they use to design. And the city will watch over them.
So when you say the city, let me ask Ms. Jean, who in the city is going to be overlooking that project?
I haven't been given that task yet. I think once this ILA is adopted and we get the deed for it, that's when we'll be given a project manager or assigned one.
Would that be a transportation? Because we don't have anyone since Ms. Pam left. We have yet to bring in someone to take that position that she vacated.
Right. Well, as you know, I'm not a transportation planner. I just play one on TV. But like Pam said, we have really great and capable traffic and transportation consultants. So, frankly, a project manager of this, even though it is extensive, a significant project, I think it would be manageable right now until we find a transportation planner or coordinator for somebody perhaps under engineering, public services who deals with road construction and such. I'm not sure. I'm not, it's above my pay grade. Um,
Well, then that's something that we'll have to ask the chief administrator. Are we working on filling that position? This is a big project that we're taking over. Don't want it to sit there and not have someone actually, managing it because it's there's a lot of money involved in that. We want to make sure that it's done correctly
Right. And we
and
have
it's done
plenty
in
of
a timely manner.
projects. Right. We have plenty of projects coming along Apopka Road. So I think that would be astute to get somebody to do that.
Okay.
And so optimistically, we're hoping to be able to fill that position this year, this calendar year. So hopefully we'll have somebody within the next month and a half.
Yeah,
At a
I
minimum.
mean, my concern is taking on a road and not having someone to manage it or manage the project itself. I mean, that's for me is a
And
red
that
flag.
is a need of the
because-
city. Yeah, we need to fill that
And
position.
I don't like to see a project kind of split up, a little bit here, a little bit there, because it doesn't get done correctly.
Agreed.
I don't know about this one.
Now, we had already approved this,
Yeah,
and it went to Orange County to get their approval. They denied it effectively?
No, they didn't deny it. It didn't go to BCC. They had a change of legal counsels. They had an overturn of employees over there.
Gotcha.
So the new ones wanted a little bit of language change. And so that warranted for us to have to take it to council again. But it was approved on September 10th by BCC. Or actually, this one was September 24th. Sorry.
It was approved by the BCC?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was approved by the BCC at their hearing on September 24th.
They
This month.
approved the amended version. So
Got
Yes.
Oh, gotcha.
that's why
Thank
it's
you.
triggering you to have to approve that amended version
Got
also
it.
because you don't have to make up your minds.
Understood. Okay. I thought
Okay.
they approved the old one, and I'm like, you can't just come back then. Sorry. Okay. Got it. All right. Understood. Thank you.
All right. Looking for a motion to approve the interlocal agreement with Orange County to transfer the Ocoee Apopka Road from Orange County to the city of Apopka.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Mm,
Second.
second by Commissioner Anderson. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, special events request. Bradley.
Christmas parade, Sarcoma.
Good afternoon again. Radley Williams, Parks and Recreation Director. Got a couple special event request items here for you. First one today is a road closure request for the Christmas parade, Apopka Christmas Parade. The annual Apopka Christmas Parade is a popular community event organized by the Foliage Sertoma Club of Apopka. This year's event is scheduled for Saturday, December 14th. Road closures requested are the same as in years prior, which would be along Park Avenue between US 441 and Votal Road, and some of the side streets coming up to Park Avenue. Road closures would be between the hours of 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. on the day of the event. And I am here for any questions. The DRC did review and approve this permit application unanimously on September 25th, 2024 at their meeting.
Any questions for Radley? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve the special event request for the road closure for the Apopka Christmas Parade.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez,
Second.
second by Commissioner Anderson. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So we want to pick up, which one do we want to do first on the number 2?
The
You
number
want to go
17.
ahead and do the special event request?
You want me to do that one
Yeah,
next?
okay.
The second special event request is for an open container for Market on Fifth Street. The weekly Market on Fifth Street special event organized by Propagate Social House has requested City Council approval to allow open container permit, consumption, and carry of alcoholic beverages during their weekly special event, which runs Fridays between the hours of 6 and 9 p.m. The open container boundaries are identified on the map in the packet and on the screen. This approval does have to come to City Council in Section 6-3, Item 4 of the Apopka Code of Ordinances. In the staff report, it outlines the regulations and what will have to be done during the event for the soap container. And the container area does stretch to the north to encompass the opportunity for the businesses. I know we do have a couple restaurants up on that area to allow their customers to participate, dine in their restaurant, and then walk into the event area. So that's why it does go up to the north a little bit. We did make sure to isolate it and prevent it from hitting the sidewalk right of way on East Main Street and the sidewalk right of way on Park Avenue. Again, to try and keep it contained to that general event area. I'm available for any questions.
Okay. Any questions for Radley?
Were all the business owners on that street notified? Were they all part of it? They all agree? Because I did get 2 texts where 2 different separate texts. First, they were some residents in our city are kind of concerned about the open carry of alcohol in that area. Even though I did respond saying from our agenda review, the parameters of which they can have the open carry alcohol. Basically, it's just from the hours that they're in operation, and it's within the street that's closed into the parking lot, going kind of staying within the parking lot. They're not allowed on 441. They're not allowed on opposite the city hall here or on Central Avenue. They're not allowed to kind of walk around and open carry alcohol beverages on that side. I mean, they still felt that allowing the alcohol the open carry for alcohol. They were still not for it, but then there was mention that not all the business owners were aware of this open carry.
It's my understanding this was brought forth through the special event permit process. So the permit organizer, the event organizer, would make contact with those businesses. It's my understanding that was done. I'd have to follow up and see. No. So
Oh, okay. So that's a concern because I want all the business owners on that strip there to be in agreement of it. I don't. I know that two business owners um, are for this. Actually, I think three, but there's a concern that not all the business owners were aware of it. So I don't know how we handle that.
if it's the pleasure of the board, this can be brought back to the event organizer to have that conversation and get that verification if that's something that the board wishes.
And does that open carry of the alcohol beverages, does that in any way affect our liability as a city?
We've treated this as, since the event does not have is not bringing in an additional bar like a special event bar, they're utilizing the businesses that serve alcohol. They just want them to be allowed to carry into the event space, which is at the street. We do still require the same insurance that we would if a bar was operating in the special event, and they have provided that.
As approving the event, that does not subject us to liability in the sense that the operator has liability. We do not, simply by being the approving agency of it. No, we do not.
Okay, so that's answered. My only concern is that I want to ensure that all the business owners on that strip were notified of this and that they're in agreement and will support it. Um, that's that's my request. Is anybody from the Fifth Street hold here at all?
I don't believe she is here today. No.
Well, that's a concern, but I guess you can open it up. If there's anybody else that has any concern.
Any other questions for Radley before we open up for public comment?
Yeah, I have a few, and it's items that we brought up during my council or my agenda review. One, I don't think it's appropriate to have this all the way in the parking lot and all the way to businesses, to Commissioner Velasquez's point, that haven't approved this or haven't reviewed it yet. I think the event is on 5th Street. Let's keep to 5th Street there. My concern with having open container on the sidewalk or the city-owned parking lot is that you'll just have people, and I mean, you described it this way, as tailgating in the parking lot. For a family event, that's not the, and not saying it's necessarily a family event, but an event that welcomes all of our families, I don't think it's appropriate to have a tailgating theme going on. And I think if we do want to eventually expand to there, we can have that discussion, make sure all the other businesses are on board and include them as such. But I think starting small and specifically on 5th Street is where we need to go. Especially because none of the vendors actually on that are going to be vending for that event sell alcohol. It's exclusively the businesses that are already within our city, and it's those businesses. So it's not that we need more space, it's just they want to be able to stroll and be able to patron the other vendors that are there. Reviewing the application itself, this application was submitted October 14th. Their BTR expired September 30th. So I'm not sure if we reviewed it as staff to make sure that that's correct. There's inconsistencies between our agreement, our license agreement that we agreed to last month, and the times that were put into this application. So for me, looking at this application needs to be redone properly with the correct names in it, the correct dates, having updated BTR, having an adjusted zone for open container itself, and make sure that, because this application has Propagate Social House on it, our license agreement is with Co-Packing USA. So I want to make sure we're staying consistent if we're going to do this. And is it a special event permit that we're doing for open container? Because wouldn't that only apply to one date?
The request would be to have it every Friday at their event. Yes.
Shouldn't there be a separate? That's not showing up in this application that this is going to be multiple dates. So those are all my concerns. I'm not asking for a response right now, but those are all my concerns here. So what my ask, and I'm happy to hear not only from public, but from the rest of my commissioners and mayor up here, is that we postpone this to get a corrected, fully perfected application and then have the detailed discussion from there.
Um, I'm sorry, can you repeat? When was the application, the date?
It says in there, it says October 14th.
Okay, I put the wrong date.
Any other questions for Bradley? I know we've got the applicants here, so maybe he could come up and answer a couple of questions before the other public comment. Okay. Jay, you want to, Jay or Brandon, whoever, which.
Yeah, unfortunately, Ella's not available. She had another meeting to attend to, so I'm going to try to speak on her behalf. But
You need to speak.
I said, unfortunately, Ella, who I'm assuming filed the application, is not here. She had another meeting to attend to, but I'll be happy to try to answer any questions and clarify anything. Yeah, as you mentioned, so Co-Packing USA is Propagate Social House. Co-Packing is our main business. Propagate is a DBA under that. That's why that inconsistency is there. And the idea is to have this every Friday, that so people can enjoy, walking Fifth Street Plaza and the farmers market all at once without having any concerns of, am I allowed to take this off property? Can I go over to Three Eyed Guys? Can I go to the Smoke Exchange? Where can I go with my beverage?
And that I'm okay with. I think having your event, the market itself, have access to open container, I think is beneficial not only to your vendors, but also to your businesses there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think starting small on Fifth Street itself, and then should the other businesses and restaurants in the area want to partake, then we can address expanding it from there. My concern is, again, that it's going to turn into everyone's just drinking out their cars because they don't want to have to pay the fees and the extra costs.
Okay. Yeah, I think the map is expanding to include Hicks Seafood, obviously Halls on Fifth when that opens up, and so the parking lot is just the area in between the spaces.
Hello, Council. My name is Brendan Segarian. I own two businesses in the Fifth Street Plaza. Mr. Nesta, thank you for your concern in regards to the open container. However, I have been there for about 2.5 years. I have watched this on a daily basis. That's not the kind of event that the Friday night brings. And furthermore, every single business in that plaza possesses at least a beer and wine license. And it's becoming increasingly difficult for our customers to frequent multiple locations while we're down there. For instance, somebody comes into my store and has a glass of wine. They can't go down to Propagate to meet their husband or wife because of the rule with carrying a drink with you. The market is executed with precision and professionalism, and I've watched this happen on a weekly basis as well. There's also a heavy law enforcement presence down there from Apopka Police Department. So I think it's a little bit folly to say that it would turn into this big party down there. I think that we've demonstrated over the past 2 years that that's not the case and that won't be the case. As far as the application goes, I'm sure they'll get everything straightened out and filled out properly for you so that we can re-meet about this in the fall.
One of the questions that was asked was was all the I guess like Hicks Seafood, were they brought in, and I guess all the other businesses within.
So I don't know about Hicks Seafood specifically. I can't speak to that. But as far as the businesses in the Fifth Street Plaza go, I just actually left a meeting with all of them, and everybody in that plaza is indeed on board with this. We think it'll all facilitate and foster more of a. I was just at a meeting with the owner of which. So you just informed them. There was no discussion. No, I specifically asked.
All right, you're talking to the council, please. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so. All right, so I think
what kind of, I'm sorry, you said you own two businesses.
Yes, ma'am. The second one is a family-friendly fun spot that we're looking to open in the second month of next year. It's right next door to my store. It was previously known as the Axhole.
Fun spot. So it's not opened.
No, it's not currently open, but it will be, and it will have a beer and wine license when it does in February.
And what is the other business you
own? The Smoke Exchange.
Okay.
I have a few questions as well.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead. I'm just trying to understand, what is the legal name? Is it Propagate Social House or is it Market Propagate Market on the 5th. What is the
Well,
exact?
so Propagate Social House is the business that has been hosting all the weekly farmers market. So Market on Fifth is just a it's a corporation. It's an off brand just to kind of separate us. We don't want to make it like, oh, Propagate's running this farmers market. This farmers market is not about Propagate. It's about Fifth Street. It's about building the downtown community, bringing businesses in, bringing people in, all that kind of stuff.
So Propagate Social House does sell alcohol, correct?
Yes, yeah. Propagate Social House and that entity does
So
sell
the
alcohol.
application says, "Will you be serving alcohol?" Is a no. So they will not be serving alcohol.
Probably, I'd have to look at that. I've not personally seen the application.
It says no.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll have to look into that. I don't. Yeah, this is news to me.
Yeah, obviously they are.
Okay. So
Yeah,
probably
okay.
redo the application.
I believe the intent was that the event itself is not serving alcohol, so they're not bringing an off-site bar on the event onto the event. The businesses around would be selling, and then have the open container for their customers to walk into the event space.
Just the application, it's just kind of all over the place. It's not a complete application, so it's kind of misleading.
Yeah, I think the intent here is to make kind of like mirror some of the efforts in other cities like Mount Dora. Mount Dora is a great example. Trying to mirror some of the efforts in other cities where you can have a glass of wine and stroll around the streets, visit
College
shops.
Park
and all
is,
that.
I mean,
College.
they're
Yep.
amazing what they do. I've been to 4 or 5 events down there with my son and daughter-in-law, and it's a street 4 or 5 times as long as Fifth Street, and exactly what they do. They've got bands on each end of the street. It's so big that you can have a band on each
Exactly.
end of the street, and
Yeah.
but so going back to, I guess, so we don't know whether the folks that would be on the north side of Fifth have been contacted, and I guess it sounds like maybe even Mama's has not been informed, or is that
Well, I just actually left a meeting and I did confirm with her right before I came over here that everyone at the table, including her, was okay. And I specifically got a yes from everyone at the table. And the owner of Mama's was there.
Not on the north side. The north side was not
Oh,
notified.
not on the north side. No. The other side, no.
no? Okay, so we haven't.
Not yet.
Okay, so I'm thinking we're going to probably need to bring this back.
Yeah.
And we got to get the people on the north side of Fifth
Okay.
engaged and
Perfect.
and comfortable with this.
And get some corrections done on the application, as Nesta pointed out as well.
And yeah, because he said the BTR was expired September 30th.
Perfect. Is that which BTR, Mr. Nesta?
Whatever's in there, whatever was, it's
Propagate.
for Propagate.
They confirmed that is active and was paid. So we need to get the active one in there.
So we just need a fully perfected, corrected application. Let's bring it back.
Perfect.
And get this right. And I would like to obviously have public comment now and then bring it back as well.
That sounds great.
So I want to make sure I take my homework here. So corrections on the application. That's all the dates.
And they want
all that
all
stuff.
of these businesses.
Speak to all the businesses or just Hicks Seafood. There is a Chinese restaurant. I don't believe they serve beer and wine. And there's also a barber shop, which obviously don't.
Should be
do
all.
that.
Okay.
It should
I
be all.
still
need to.
we're closing. Yeah, they all need to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a specific like in writing you want to have like a form signed that yes I approve of this or
That would be the best.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Perfect. We can do that.
Yeah, and I'd give them the agreement that we have today, and then say the adjustments won't they're more of a technical nature. Just the
Like a
scope of
simple statement that everyone's signature is on.
Well, I think they need to see the agreement.
Okay.
The little technical changes won't matter to them, but just get that simple agreement that show them and say,
That
okay,
they're approving and in
Yeah,
support of the
right.
event the way that it is.
Very cool. Okay.
consider it done.
Okay.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
council members and Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right. Come on up.
Okay, Virginia Street, 2119 Palm Vista Drive. I have a few concerns. This street is owned by the city, right? And before we start creating applications and things like this, there needs to be some unity before this happened. Before y'all submitted it, that should have been done first. That's what I'm saying. Okay, I don't have a problem with it. It's just that things need to be done right and in order. That all of the businesses, whether they sell alcohol or not, need to be aware of what is going to happen. Also, I had questions about the liability. If someone, there's no boundaries to stop someone from going and getting something to drink, getting in their car and driving off. Nothing. We already have where the city is paying for the police department and services to set up for you every week for free that you're not paying, the city's paying, right? So we already do that. If we're going to do that and have alcohol out there, we may have to have extra, they may have to have extra people out, which is extra expense the city has to pay for. And if it's a family friendly event, sometimes alcohol and family, don't really mix. I mean, um, I also am concerned about that with some of the things, activities that we're seeing that are happening in places where there's a lot of people around, people are gathering, and you cannot predict what people might have in their minds about what they're doing. So, again, the police department will have to have extra people out there that nobody's paying for but the citizens. So that those are my concerns. Um, the and I'm not, you know, I, this should have been something that was calculated and done before y'all brought this here. I am very uh, displeased about how the businesses are getting along in that area. And if y'all can't come on one accord and bring the application here, then don't bring it until everybody is informed and everybody's on the same page. It's just not even necessary. So those are my concerns. That there's no way to control somebody from getting in their car driving off with whatever they have. You know, there's no boundaries. And if you're expecting for the police to put more people out there that they're already giving you, they're not charging you for their services directly. I think that's unfair to ask them to do more than they're already doing. I think they're doing a good job. I'm out there every week or every other week, but they're doing a good job. They're walking up and down the street. They're just, but we're giving them more things to do. You know, I mean, like they're bouncers. I see people when they drink and they have that freedom. It's something. Do we really want that kind of exposure? Downtown Orlando, you can't walk out their clubs. You have to drink your drink right there. You can't do that. I don't think it's a wise move for us to do. Not at this time. Not at this time.
Okay, okay, thank you. Okay, next up.
Hi, Dr. O. Um, you see the masking up there. Um, maybe it was just done quickly, but it covers 2/3 of those buildings up front, and it covers the entire buildings um, in front of Fifth Street. Now, I'm sure the furniture store doesn't want to be included in open container, the law office. Just like Mama's wasn't notified, I notified her last night when I opened this up. She wasn't aware. Um, the people in the front buildings were not notified. Mr. McLeod, Ray McLeod, gave me permission, asked me to notify you of his concerns of liability because he owns a lot of the asphalt back there in the driveway and the asphalt behind his building. And he knows a lot about liability. And he was unable to come today. The Chinese restaurant doesn't want people on their back asphalt, stumbling, driving drunk, whatever. The mobile phone store, they don't want it. None of them were notified, none. and they own property back there. They're responsible for that asphalt back there. It doesn't belong to the city. And so the city has no right to give permission to that asphalt to these people. And they pay CAM on it too, to parts of that. But to give license to that building back there where it's masked, and the landlord was not informed about this area here, and he can speak to it, Mr. Kim. He wasn't informed until this afternoon when I called him asking if he knew about it. I didn't know he was the landlord at the time when I called. My concern is liability and pressing our services here, because as you can see, the city of Orlando had to cut down on bar hours and problems in Orlando due to shootings, knifings, and all kinds of liability. They've had excessive drain on their public services because of medical issues, drunks, people getting sick, having to have EMTs and paramedics, and they should be out serving people with heart attacks and car accidents. And instead, they're serving people in the drunk district. And it's very sad. And we need to have our paramedics and stuff. Yeah, they don't mind doing it, but they shouldn't have to be doing it. And so I'm really disappointed that this even had to come forward for one business making a profit on Fifth Street, taking over Fifth Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim.
Mayor Nelson and my fellow commissioners, I'm here today just to let you guys know. Number one, I wasn't notified. I didn't know what was going on. So pretty much, I just want you guys to know that I think there's some people who weren't notified. So I think the best thing that we could do at this time is just to notify the whole community, get all their input. And for me, I'm a very neutral party, and so the only thing I'm worried about at this time is liability. So if the city can just basically cover liability insurance if someone's getting hurt in city property, because it does affect the city property, but if they can cover the liability issue, I think that should cover everything for me. But I think right now it's too premature at this time to make a quick decision. So I would just ask for just another extension if feasible, and then just get the comments from the community and ask them how they feel.
Okay.
But for our family and the building that we own, it would just be liability issues. If someone's getting hurt, I think the city of Apopka needs a very good insurance policy. That's all I have to say today. Thank you for your time.
Okay, hey, Drew, can you kind of address the liability issues from the city's standpoint, please?
As I'm listening to public comment, I think I'm picking up on two different
Yes.
types of liability. There's the public liability on the public property, and the private liability on the private property. And we would not be indemnifying what's happening on the private property. And I think that's that last comment. That would not be the city's place to go and obtain insurance for a private event that's occurring on private property. But what I also, and I think going to where you already are on this item, which is we need to have everybody involved, everybody who's out there involved in the conversation. I think that is an important part of the conversation, is for those business owners that don't want somebody who's been consuming to be on their property and a potential risk. Because if I'm a little bit impaired, but there's also a tow catch on your parking lot, and I catch that tow catch, I've created, it may have happened whether I was drinking or not, but I now have created liability that person may face a lawsuit. So that's the reality of it. It's the reality every day, whether there's alcohol involved or not. But certainly once you introduce alcohol, then there's the possibility that somebody does stumble and fall in something that they might have navigated had they not had that alcohol. But if it's private property, if it's my private property, I don't have to. The city, you could not authorize them. You cannot tell somebody you have to open your private property and allow this to occur on your property. So to the extent that there's any of that here, that can be peeled back and refined.
So, and to kind of echo that same sentiment, it's not so much the business owners that we need approvals for, it's the building owners, the landowners themselves, because liability would lie within the building owner if it's not the same as the tenant, correct?
It will depend on right. It'll depend on those lease agreements. It could have been transferred by agreement to the tenant, but that landowner is always interested in liability. Absolutely.
Okay. And the only other one thing too I want to just state is that we've been having issues every Friday with cones and the street being blocked off a little earlier than what is in our license agreement, which says 3:30. So I want to make sure that we're enforcing that properly every Friday, making sure spots aren't being blocked off or closed off before 3:30.
Correct. And the Apopka Police Department has addressed that last week. I know there's some issues, and especially with early voting going on, there's more people in that area than normal, but we have addressed that with the event organizers and to straighten that out.
Okay. Okay, so anybody else want to speak on this matter? If not, look for a motion to.
Well, I would like to hear what Ms. Streets had to say.
She's already talked once.
I want to hear what she has to say still.
No, that's no.
Oh,
no.
wow. All right.
So, looking for a motion to postpone the what is it?
The application for the special event request.
Special event request for, open container during the Market on Fifth Street event.
Well, wouldn't they need to resubmit everything again and start over?
I think what I've heard is we got some details to correct in the application permit itself. I think the course would be correct those, bring it back through DRC one more time, then bring it back to council.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's just cleaner to just deny it as stands now and then bring it back forth when it's ready.
The cleanest probably be if the applicant wanted to withdraw the current application.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what?
Looking for the applicant, maybe just withdraw the application.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. So withdraw the application. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Number 3, Dutch Brothers Coffee. Gene Sanchez.
Okay, so they withdrew the application.
For the record, Jean Sanchez with the Community Development Department. This is a request to approve the Transportation Impact Fee Credit Agreement with Coal Valley Partners, Apopka DB LLC, for $77,584.60. The construction site plan for Dutch Brothers Coffee at 1434 West Orange Blossom Trail was approved by the Development Committee on July 10, 2024. At that time, the project was undergoing DRC review. City staff discussed its desire for the site to have cross connectivity to the home inn and suites, to the improved signal at US 441 and Errol Parkway. Because the connection provides additional roadway capacity and is considered a safety project, Dutch Brothers were told they may receive transportation impact fee credits up to the amount of the impact fees they would be required to pay at building permit issuance. Therefore, Dutch Brothers pursued impact fee credits by negotiating with Home Inn and Suites to acquire an easement for the connection. And after negotiations, Dutch Brothers reached an agreement with the hotel and are now ready to enter into an agreement with the city for transportation impact fee credits. While the connection may benefit Dutch Brothers, their site will work without it, as they will maintain an ingress egress share access with the existing veterinarian clinic. However, the specific cross connection related to this impact fee credit request will eliminate the need for northbound traffic to U-turn at Errol Parkway and US 441 signal and enter via the driveway shared with the animal hospital. It will also allow drivers heading north from Dutch Brothers and the Animal Hospital to exit via the traffic signal, eliminating the need to make the difficult and dangerous U-turn on 441 via the directional median. The cross access provides all three businesses with second access, particularly beneficial at critical times for emergency services that goes above and beyond our access management standards. This cross access connection has also been contemplated by the city as a safety improvement since the decision to rebuild the signal and cross access existing with San Miguel Restaurant and relatively new multi-tenant center. The recommended motion today is to approve the transportation impact fee agreement with Coal Valley Partners and with Coal Valley Partners for $77,584.60 upon completion and city acceptance of the cross-access connection. Staff and applicant are available for questions.
Okay, any questions for Jean Sanchez? All right. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve the transportation impact fee credit agreement with Dutch Brothers Coffee.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, roadway resurfacing program. Michael Ortiz.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Mike Ortiz, Program Supervisor. And, oops, wrong way. Perfect. And today I'll be presenting the proposed selected roads for the FY 24-25 roadway program. Basically, before quick little outline of what we're going to be doing in this presentation. We're going to go over the strategies used in selecting the roads, some roadway history of past pavements, pavement treatments and resurfacing treatment methods, and a list of the roads that were selected. So when we go into selecting roads, we consider the PCI condition assessment report that was done back in 2021, review the scores, we select the roads from there, then do a field verification of the roads to see what conditions they're really on. From there, then we determine what's the best method to treat those roads. Here's a little history for the past 4 years. You can see the mileage of how much roads we have increased and the amount of roads that we have resurfaced. The pavement treatment method that we decided to go this year are two. It's going to be the mill and overlay and the Cape Seal. We've deemed those the best two methods. Here's a little process of how the Cape Seal works, and it's basically a slur that they put above the existing pavement and basically acts like a barrier between the existing to prevent any moisture from intrusion into the base and the asphalt that's existing. The mill and overlay process is a little bit more work. They mill the top layer, which is about an inch and a half. Then they place the asphalt on top, and then they roll it down. So this is the first subdivision we went ahead and chose and reviewed. It's going to be the Meadows Madu Helen subdivision. These are all the proposed selected roads, and we deemed it to be a mill and overlay process. We found some issues out there, and we seen that this is the best practice for this one. Second road, that subdivision that was selected was the Pines of Wekiva subdivision. We're going to do this section. If you look at the Falcon Crest, we did that one a couple years ago. We did a mill and overlay, and we're going to continue the process. And this is the second phase in that subdivision. For the Cape Seal, we chose the Spring Ridge subdivision. And these are the proposed roads. Made a little typo here. This is part of the Spring Ridge subdivision as well. This is just that little section on the west side of the entrance where we're going to do Cape Seal as well. And then this is the north section of the subdivision, and this is the same as the Spring Ridge, little typo here too, where we're going to do the Cape Seal method as well. In summary, we're doing 3 miles total of Cape Seal, which is a total of $338,748.60. We're doing a total of 6.4 miles of mill and overlay, which is a total of $1,361,251.40. Total is going to be 9.4 miles that we're going to be resurfacing this year, and the total amount is going to be 1.7, which is within our budget of the 1.7 approved. So I request the council to review the list and for approval. And if you guys have any questions, I'm open to it.
Any questions for Michael?
These were the subdivisions. I remember we had done a study, and these were the top ones that.
Yes. So we looked at the PCI report. We also take customer concerns in consideration. The one, I go back to it, this subdivision right here, we had a couple customers complain, not complain, send concerns to us about potholes. And we did 16 pothole repairs in this one subdivision. We found certain areas where the asphalt was barely half an inch thick. So we went in there, we looked, our PCI report said something a little different, but once we did a field verification, we noticed that this needed more attention sooner than later. If we catch these issues ahead of time, we could still do a cheaper method of repair rather than more costly cold in place, which is a total reconstruction. So that's what we do. That's why field verification is very important in this process in ensuring that we do the best method in the best, most concerning roads.
So so that one's getting, because it's green, that's mill and overlay.
Yes, it's going to be mill and overlay.
Explain the process.
So the process is they come in with their, and I could go back to this slide. They go with their mill machine and then they shave at least an inch to an inch and a half of the top surface. After they do that, they come back and reapply fresh, brand new asphalt, and then they roll it down into, a good stable road after that, good, nice asphalt. And then that's basically kind of like a reconstruction method. It's just getting the top layer. If these roads eventually, if the asphalt gets really bad and you start seeing cracking, the water could penetrate through there and start getting into the base. Once that occurs, then a whole different treatment, because once the base is compromised, that's when you start seeing dips and everything in the road. And we have to do a total reconstruction of the base and the road. And that's when the cold in place is used. But if we address it ahead of time, we could go with this cheaper process.
Okay. Any other questions for Michael? Okay. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? If not, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion to approve the FY 24-25 roadway resurfacing program.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez,
Second.
second by Commissioner Anderson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I had
Next-
one question. I'm so sorry, and I appreciate your presentation. Because these are all neighborhoods and a lot of them are cul-de-sacs, dead ends, what type of, I guess, the notification and plans to let people know that you're not sealing them in for a couple days?
Yeah. So I always communicate with the HOAs, try to talk to them and have them do some type of notices. We
Okay.
also do post it on the website as well to alert everybody to, hey, this is what's going on. But I found more success with communicating with the HOAs. Then they have their meetings and they're able to tell all the residents and put on the boards too in the entrances, tell them, hey, this is what's going on.
Okay.
So.
And what's the timelines to start these projects?
So with the hurricane, I had everything kind of set up, but we had to shift schedules now because of the storm and everything that took place. I had to assess these roads now to see if there's any debris, because I want to remove all that first before we start this process, because if not, it's going to be too much. Once we get that started and I get everything out of the way, then we just go ahead and schedule a time frame. So I can't give you a definite answer right now.
Understood. Thank you.
Question: have you seen? I know that oil prices have come down. Have you seen any movement in?
I haven't right now. We're still going off of the old contract, so I'm curious when we see the new prices. I'm hoping, so I could get more roads done, but we'll see.
Okay. Any other questions for Michael? Okay. All right. Anybody public wish to speak on this? If not, close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve the FY 24-25 roadway resurfacing program.
Sorry.
There's a question afterwards.
I'd ask a question after. That's my fault.
Okay. Okay. Ordinance number 3075. Thank you, Michael.
We have the city building security policy discussion.
Which one? I'm sorry.
They're consent. We moved it to
Number 17.
We're gonna pick that up with number
308.
2.
302. Okay.
Number 2 on
Ordinance
Yeah. So it'll be up. Yeah. Okay. Ordinance 3075.
Ordinance 3075. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Apopka by amending Part 3 Land Development Code, Article 4 Use Regulations, Section 4.2 Principal Uses, Table 4.2.2C, Principal Use Table to allow recreation facility outdoor as a permitted use in the Corridor Commercial District, and MUD, Mixed Use Downtown Zoning District, providing for codification, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and setting an effective date.
Any changes? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? If not, we'll close the public hearing and look for motion to adopt ordinance number 30. 3075.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez,
Second.
second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 3081. Andrew, is it better to do, which one do you want to do first? Is it?
If you'll do the ordinance first, and then we can kind of segue into the
Okay.
policy and see
Okay.
so we can
Gotcha.
comment on that. But I think the policy really is the administrative implementation, what happens at the staff level to implement the ordinance. So I think
Perfect.
the ordinance is the heavy lift of it.
Super. Thank you, sir.
All right, ordinance 3081, an ordinance of the city of Apopka, Florida, amending chapter 42 miscellaneous offenses of the city code of ordinances by creating section 42-3 public access to city buildings, providing for recognition that certain areas of city buildings require regulation of public access to provide for the security and privacy of public visitors, city employees, and city officials, and minimize potential disruptions to the work of city government, classifying certain forum areas within the city buildings, authorizing the city administrator or designees to manage public access to city buildings by classifying forum areas and implementing measures to separate forum areas, regulate access, and ensure security and privacy, providing for violations for unauthorized access or disruptive behavior with non-public and limited public forums, prohibiting the unconsenting recording of video or audio within city buildings except during public meetings, providing the authority to issue trespass warnings, providing for codification, severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Anything left there, Andrew?
I will break it out. That was a perfect summary. It's a great title because it summarizes everything, but nobody understands it, right? And for the record, and Drew Smith, for my partner Andrew Hand, but Drew Smith here tonight from the city attorney's office. And just as the title alludes to, what this is doing, it's balancing the public First Amendment interests with the city business interest. And that's what the courts recognize, that while public buildings are public buildings, they are also places of public business. And the city has every right to ensure that the public business is able to be effectively and safely and efficiently performed, while the public is still allowed what access we can in that process. And so you heard in the title, you see it on page 2 of the ordinance, page 3 of 6 of the ordinance, excuse me. The real core concept here is the non-public forum and the limited public forum. And in this ordinance, just give you a little bit of background, this has been modeled after Punta Gorda's ordinance, as are many in the state that have been developed recently and are being developed right now to do the same thing we are here, because Punta Gorda's got challenged. They went to court in 2019 on a challenge, and the court upheld it. So that's why that's being put forward by the league as a model, and why many jurisdictions are using it as a model, since it has had that judicial review and has been approved. So you have the non-public forum and the limited public forum. I'll add to that the one that I know you're all familiar with, you've heard before, which is the traditional public forum, your parks, your sidewalks. Traditional public forums are the places where we allow and ensure to allow the most speech. That is where, you may have your person with the megaphone who wants to speak out against this ordinance, for instance, and whatever their speech that they want the public to hear and the commission to hear, those are your traditional public fora. We're not talking traditional public fora here. We're not talking about places where speech is really, we try to shoot for unfettered speech. We don't want to limit you in any way. We have to avoid content-based restrictions, and any restrictions we put on speech within traditional public fora have to be narrowly tailored and do no more than we absolutely have to do to protect the public health, safety, welfare. We're not worried with those standards with limited public fora, and certainly not non-public fora. With limited public fora, the courts have said there's a much lower standard, and that's a standard that applies to our lobby spaces. Here in this ordinance, that's our lobby spaces. That's the spaces. This converts to a limited public forum when we're here for a meeting. A conference room may convert to a limited public forum if you're there for a meeting. The public gets those rights that we expect in a limited public forum, the ability to come here and under those rules that the commission has adopted to speak to you. I get to say what I want to say. You don't get to say, Drew, you don't get to say that. We don't like what you have to say. You don't get to say it. You don't get to do that. You don't get to viewpoint discriminate. You have to give me my opportunity, but I have to follow the rules. That's different than the traditional public forum where you don't really get to make many rules about how I speak or what I say. In the limited public forum, you do. On top of the limited public forum, and most spaces in this building by this ordinance will be made non-public fora. Because again, while it is a public building, is a public building intended for public business. And the business comes first. The 9 to 5 hours when you're here for a meeting, it's about public interaction. But when your staff is in their offices doing their work, they have a right, the courts have recognized they have a right to do that work without the public coming in and interrupting them and distracting them from that work. And this is not a First Amendment audit ordinance. This is broader than that. But First Amendment audits is what has triggered this in a lot of jurisdictions, because you have people coming in to business offices, because city business offices are business offices, and intentionally creating distractions. Not all, but some have. And this is a way of dealing with that. And so by creating those non-public access areas, you are able to create a situation where your employees can say, I don't want to be recorded, because the courts have recognized that right too. All of us as private citizens have it, right? In Florida, you have to get my permission before you record me if I have any expectation of privacy in the space that I am. The courts have said the same applies to an employee of a government, that if they are at their desk and there's an expectation of privacy at that desk, you still have to have their permission to record them. That's what this says. Part of it is, and if you go down to what this is delegating to the city administrator, a lot of that is the signage and making sure everything is appropriately marked so the public knows this is a non-public access area. You have to have permission to get back here, all the things that the ordinance says. One thing that I'll note in the non-public fora that it discusses, and actually really and here when we're in the non-public forum that has, as we're standing here right now, transformed into a limited public forum, there's this concept of legitimate public business. That's coming straight out of that Sheets decision. That's a term that the Punta Gorda used in their ordinance, and the court specifically hinged on. And what they're doing there, and what the court appreciated them doing there, recognized them doing there, was tying the space to the context of use at the time. So, for instance, we're in a limited public forum right now. We all know the rules of a commission meeting. I'm standing here at the podium giving a presentation on this. We're all engaged in the legitimate public purpose for this space at this time. If I went off the rails and I decided I was going to come up and start walking down and lobbying each of you on some other item, not on the agenda tonight, outside of the rules of procedure for this meeting, I might argue that I'm engaged in public business because I'm interacting with my elected official, but at that time, in that space, it's not a legitimate public business. So that term legitimate public business, it's really tying context. What's going on in that space at that time, and is that what's intended? So in this space, that's a good example. To go to the employee offices to give you a different one, legitimate public business, if I'm in the non-public forum area, which as this is set up, I would have to have basically permission to come in and an escort, right? And so if I say, I have a meeting with Gene, and I go and finish my meeting with Gene, I've finished my public business, my legitimate public business. Well, I want to go see the city administrator. So contrary to what staff is asking me to do, I march down to the city administrator's office and start knocking on his door. From my perspective, I'm still engaged in city business, right? I want to talk to the city administrator, but it's no longer legitimate city business because I have now exceeded the scope of what I came into the non-public area to do. Does that kind of make sense to everybody? So those are the big concepts. I talked a little bit on the recording. That's the last one that I really want to touch on. So with recording, obviously, when we are conducting a public meeting, whether in this room or in a conference room, anywhere where a noticed public meeting is being conducted, the public has every right to record video, audio. As long as they're not creating a disruption, they have a right to record public meetings. That's confirmed by state law. Where this restriction on recording comes in, it really is getting back into that outside of those times when we know recording is required, regardless of whether I want to be on camera that night or not. When you're in the offices, when you're in the private spaces, when you're in these non-public fora, then just as a private citizen has the right to do, just as the courts have recognized a governmental employee has the right to do, an employee of the city can say, I do not want to be recorded right now, and you will not be allowed to record it in a non-public forum. And again, that was part of the Sheets case. That was part of the argument. And again, why we're all the cities that we work with, they're all kind of using that as the template for how do we get back to efficiently run government where our employees feel safe and not threatened? Because sometimes that's what happens is when you have these incidents occur, people start to feel less safe, and when people start feeling less safe, work starts to get less efficient. So, as I said before I came up here, the policies really are implementation of this. So I know the policies go into more detail, but that's because they're really spelling out for your staff and your administration how do we conduct ourselves within this new system. So if there's any questions about the ordinance or the policies, I'll do my best there. I may, like I said, ask city administrator or chief to chime in if there's any questions they might be better suited to answer.
Any
So
questions? Commissioner
my
Wilson?
my question would be, and I'm going to make reference to the city clerk's office because that's where most some of the visitors come up and they want public records and they start to record, or they actually start to record their uh, transaction or their discussion with the city clerk, and the city clerk expresses, you cannot record. I'm asking you not to record our conversation or to record me in your video. At that point, um, what would be the action that she can take if the person insists on
Refuses.
recording?
First of all, it would be to progress no further into whatever that meeting was. I will no longer be able to interact with you. And then the next step is it the call coming to your office or to administrator's office is the intention.
So,
But ultimately, it would work its way up the flagpole. And if it got pushed far enough, you would have the trespass warning, as you see in the ordinance and the policy, working its way all the way up to trespass warning, where the person could be trespassed from the building.
so I know that now. I believe that most of the doors have posted no videotaping and no recording. But we're gonna have like more official um, notices rather than what we have now, at 8.5 by 11 type paper on all the doors.
I was in city of Sanford yesterday, and they still have 8.5 by 11 paper too. So
Yeah,
don't feel
they
bad.
do. Okay. Um, all right. That was my question because it has happened
Absolutely,
before,
yes, and it
and the staff has expressed not feeling safe in that environment, and they don't want to confront our
correct.
residents. They want to provide the service, but they're providing the service in an uncomfortable
Yes,
situation, and
ma'am.
we don't want that for the employees.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Anderson?
No, I understand it.
Commissioner Smith?
Good.
Commissioner Nesta?
Yeah, and thank you for going through that and describing this. My concern is that the word legitimate, the phrase proper use, who's defining what that means?
Again, that's why I point out that that's really coming from that court case and where it's tying the context of the room, because legitimate is contextual in how it's being used there. And so ultimately your administrator is charged with implementing this, but whether it's not it's not really in my mind a discretionary call on whether we're talking legitimate business interest or not when we think of that context that I told you the court was looking at. Because if it's here, we all know what the rules of the commission meeting are. So if I wander up there and start trying to engage each of you individually, we know I've left the legitimate business. It's clear at that point. And again, I use the example with the offices. When I come into the office area with one expectation, with one thing that I've said, I'm here to see so and so. That's my legitimate business, and it's not a call that's being made. Oh well, I mean, actually, the call is probably made is, do you have an appointment with so and so? And if you do, you're going to be led back. It's not, well, we don't think you should meet with so and so today. It's simply, do you have an appointment with this person or not? Is this person expecting you? So it's not. I do not expect, nor was it the court's view of that word, that this is something that's going to be arbitrarily or ambiguously even applied, because it's simply looking at why did you say you were here, and have you done that, and if you've completed it, then it's time to go. It's not saying no, you don't have a good reason for being here. And we're not talking about coming up to the public and the podium and speaking during a public meeting. We're really talking about those areas where there is a high degree of protection of the space. Those non-public forum is really where that legitimate public interest comes into play. And so it's if I'm just wandering the halls of the offices, I might say, well, I'm here to collect evidence for a lawsuit I want to file. That's my legitimate public business. But no, that's not the legitimate public business that got you into the building in the first place. That was the meeting you told us you had that we brought you up to when we met you at the front door.
So, and I understand that within the context of the ordinance itself, I understand what you're saying. It's based on what the Punta Gorda case law provides. My concern is that this can be weaponized because it's ambiguous, and if it can be applied with some ambiguity locally here, then we turn into some issues. I'll give you an example just specifically here is that if somebody wants to come in and look at the artwork that's in our atrium right now, that's not city business.
But that is a limited public forum, and they have every right to be there without an escort. If they wanted to come into this room and do the same thing, though, that would be where I think your analogy fits perfectly.
So, but I guess that's my point, though, is that it's where do we limit? It's is
You're
that limited on here? Is that doesn't state specifically that?
but it does.
Point me
Your
to that.
legitimate public purpose, that's applying to your non-public fora. That's qualifying your non-public fora. And you see that does not apply below to limited public forum. We have not used that legitimate public purpose for those. So if you are in the lobby, my expectation is nobody's going to be asking you why are you in the lobby unless you're doing something disruptive, and then you might be. But if you're just there taking pictures or just looking at the artwork, this allows you to do that, and nobody's making a judgment call in a limited public forum as to whether or not you have a right to be there.
Now, I think this contradicts some of our policy stuff too, and we can discuss that once we just get into the policy side of this, and where there's a lot of issues on that front. But where there can be a lot of ambiguity and a lot of weaponization of this, and that's my biggest concern. Is yes, I want to protect our staff, make sure that they feel comfortable, are proficient in their job, and don't feel attacked in any capacity. That is first and foremost the most important thing. But moving forward, though, is making sure that the exact reason why our staff are here is to serve the residents. So I want to make sure there's nothing that's getting in the way or slowing down that process either. That's letting government move and do and serve the way it should. So, you know, if I'm starting a new business in the city, I need to stop by community development. I need to stop by and get a BTR. I may need to talk to our community development land. I may need to talk to our economic development department. So although I can put that all on every list, it may be, oh shoot, I meant to go to that office today. And now, again, if somebody doesn't like me, they can say, no, that was on a list. You need to go or I'm going to trespass you. So those are my concerns. And I just want to make sure the residents are protected as well as our staff. And if you can point me to kind of where that covers my residents as well as my staff or the staff and the residents, then I'll understand a little bit better.
I will say I think that conversation, and not so much as to what it says here, your administrator is going to be the one implementing this. And so if you have a situation where you have members of the public who are being denied access to staff, I think that's a conversation. You're not going to have that problem, I'm sure. That'd be a conversation you're having with their city administrators. Why is this happening? Because I think the expectation and the policy, the expectation is if you're in the offices, you're there for a reason. You're there with an appointment. Is this person expecting you? And if that person's not expecting you, well, then go make an appointment. And that's what gets you in. It is that appointment, that expectation that you're going to be here at the time that you are here. Because if I'm just, and yes, I completely understand the point, and I see it happen at city halls. It's how business has been conducted in a lot of places in Florida up to this point, because we haven't had these problems occur. We have had fairly liberal access to local government employees for a very long time. But if it's, well, I just remember I got to go see the community development director about something. Well, at least can we make sure the community development director is available, or that you're not interrupting? Because if you just go down and knock on the community development director's door and he's 30 minutes into a 2-hour project and he has to stop and even to say, I don't have time for you right now, that may have just wasted that 30 minutes he just finished working. And so that's it's the competing interest. I don't mean to take away anything that you've said. I'm just kind of trying to lay out the competing interests, because ultimately it's your body's decision as a policy, not mine as a lawyer. I'm just trying to be the best guide I can be.
No, absolutely, and I appreciate that. And again, I want to make sure that this cannot be weaponized, and that should it be in any capacity or that it's used inappropriately, that there's something put in here that if the resident feels that they were unjustly trespassed or something in that capacity,
an appeal process.
Correct. And then also, in addition, there's page 5 of this under additional rule that says additional rules related to the specific functions or use of a city building may be created or implemented by the city administrator. And I think it'd be beneficial to have some language in there that with additional approval of the city council. I think if we're going to keep adding or taking away or adjusting this, which I think it's going to need to be massaged, just how we use and work with our residents. I think having us part of that conversation, also our residents part of that conversation, will be vital to the success of this and ensuring that it's not done improperly.
To that last point, would you have any problem with the consent of the city commission?
Unless it's an emergency type situation.
Well, if it's an emergency, it wouldn't be under this. I mean, you have the power to trespass. I mean, all those other provisions
Well,
are.
I'm thinking like hurricane shelter, that type of thing. That's the type of situation.
Well, and if you're under an emergency declaration, you will have that through your emergency declaration. You will have been granted that additional authority. So I think in a declared emergency, you're going to have it anyway. So I'm comfortable with that. So yeah, I think we could add at line 201 to 202, just add that additional rules with the consent of the city commission, because that's what you have here. That's why you have the policies. That's kind of the same thing that's going on with those. So that's why we have these together.
And I appreciate the massaging there. The real concern of this, again, I want to make sure that our resident or our staff are protected, feel safe, feel confident in their ability to do their job. But I'm also very concerned about it being weaponized. So I appreciate the explanation, and thank you for your time to go through it
Yes, sir.
and explain it to us.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Smith, anything? Good. Commissioner Velasquez, anything additional?
No.
Nope. Okay.
No.
Commissioner Anderson, good. Okay. All right. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one?
Virginia Street, 2119 Palm Vista Drive. I looked at the policies and regulations that it has been drafted, and I see a lot of black stuff, a lot of black markings. I don't know what that is. It's not complete.
You see, right?
You see what I'm saying here? Under the
The redacted part.
City Hall security
It's because
protocol.
of security features that explain it.
I think I explained most of that to you all during our meetings. It is security protocol for the building. It's exempt from Chapter 119. That's why it's been redacted. It's how our employees will respond if there's a breach of security in the building, and what numbers they can call and certain things that they can do is exempt from 119, so that the common public doesn't know what our reaction to a threat to the building is going to be.
And sorry to interrupt you. I thought we were. So, are we discussing the policy separately than this?
Yes.
Yeah, this is separate.
Okay, I just want to make sure because I do.
She brought up the policy.
No,
I'm
I
just
totally
answering her question.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure because if we are talking about policy, I have a lot of questions about that as well. So,
Okay.
absolutely no. But
Okay.
ask whatever. And I didn't want to interrupt you by any means.
I thought we were talking about both of them at the same time. I'm sorry. I'll wait.
Okay.
Shall I wait?
Okay. Sure. That'd be
Unless
good.
you have something else specifically
No,
to.
that was all I had about. I didn't understand why some of this was reacted.
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
Anybody else from the public wish to speak on this one? All right. If not, close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve ordinance number 3081 at first reading and hold over for second reading and adoption.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second by Commissioner Anderson. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
I'm opposed. I just think this is going to be weaponized. I want my staff to be safe, but
with Commissioner Nesta against it. Okay.
Okay.
Next up, item number 17 on the consent agenda, which is city building security policy.
I will, again, this is kind of dovetails with the other, so I won't go through the presentation again, but I'll help with questions.
Okay. Any questions on the policy, Commissioner Nesta?
yeah, I'm surprised nobody else has questions. Absolutely. So with this, and in reference to the policy, I'm trying to pull it up right now. One of my biggest concerns was, again, number one, consistent application of this policy. I feel that there's a lot of inconsistencies that will come from this, and that, again, it can be weaponized to benefit or not benefit. Some people are not, some residents are not, some staff members are not. So what assurances can we have that this will be applied equally and equitably to everybody and not just select few or be bend in some capacity or not?
Are you looking for
I'm
you
not
looking?
sure this is a question to you.
I understand. I'm trying to narrow the question, maybe just narrow the question a little bit. So that I think you're asking for how do we see what the policy is, practically speaking, how is it going to be implemented so that we know, as the governing body, that it's going to be implemented fairly. It's not
Correct.
so much you're not asking so much about the words that are there. You're looking for that. Okay, now once we have the words, those who are in charge of implementing it, how do you plan on
Pragmatically,
implementing
how
it?
do we make this work? Correct.
As per our discussion the other day in your pre-meeting, it does state that it applies to all employees and visitors and individuals to the city of Apopka. I don't know that there's any exceptions. I think since we've put security at the front door, I don't know that we've had exceptions. If we had, then they need to be brought to my attention and we'll address them. I don't know if I discussed it with you. I know I discussed it with some of the commissioners. We will be doing training on the policy as well as an evacuation policy that we've created on how to evacuate the building in case of fire or some other critical incident that occurs in the building. So we do plan on doing training with everybody inside the building. We'll work with all the other department heads for their buildings on security and any training that needs to be done there. But it's our goal that everybody follows this procedure. It applies to employees wearing their ID. I think that's, as we discussed, going to be one of the biggest challenges is to make sure that our employees, but I'm sure once we turn a couple of them away from the door and send them back to their car to get their ID, they're eventually going to learn. It's going to be incumbent upon the directors in the building and the other buildings to make sure that their employees are walking around with their IDs on. It's going to be up to the department heads to ensure that this is implemented. It's been discussed. It's been talked to. These are some of the things that our employees want to feel safe. It's not, this policy is what we're doing now. We have a practice, and this just codifies what our current practice is. But if you're looking from an answer from me, it applies to everybody.
Right, and I think that's the point. It's not being applied completely. And to your point, to your example that you brought up, not all badges are being shown and worn throughout the city hall.
Well, we're looking for approval of this so that we can put this into place and codify our practice. I know, as I explained, there was some confusion as to what our practice was. I sent out an email to everybody that sat in the front desk and to all the department heads in this building, explaining to them what our practice was and what our expectations for building security are. This codifies and explains to everybody in writing what our expectations are of people's behavior, to include our employees and visitors to City Hall and any of our city business facilities.
So, and in here, obviously, it's in bold red. Visitors are required to wear their visitor pass in clearly visible location throughout their visit to City Hall. So, we have to have people check in, show their ID to go look at the art that's here.
If they want inside that glass door, yes, sir, they need to be secure because they could have access to other parts of this building that could threaten your employees.
Now, do they have to be escorted while they're looking at the art?
There's the security guard will be right there. So probably not. We're not escorting everybody. We're still allowing them, once they tell us what their legitimate city business is, to go to that department and do their business and conduct business with the city. So we're not escorting anybody to the various, if they want to go to community development, which is where the majority of the people that come into this building, is my understanding, the majority of them go there because you do have the BTR tax, you got the permitting, licensing, and everything else right there in that one hallway. They will be able to proceed to do their legitimate city business. And once they're done, they're expected to go ahead and depart the city premises.
So it says wandering around City Hall is strictly prohibited. So if you're wandering around looking at the art,
I don't think there's any other art other than in the lobby area right now. I'm not even sure there's art there. Is there?
There is.
Is there? Okay.
So I just, again, I think this is another, I want to keep our staff safe. They need to feel safe and confident. It's having public events here that are attracting public just to come look at art and things like that. Love it, but.
Well, there's a difference between an event that's occurring and allowing people in during that event and just having somebody come in through the doors and wander around City Hall. That's two different things.
But again, if they're not being escorted, they find themselves up the elevator, things like that. There's things that are attracting people to City Hall to come look at the art, and then nobody's escorting them, and they're left to go to the elevator, go where they want to from there. So yes, I mean, there's provisions in here, but again, my concerns are this is going to be weaponized, and I don't have anything that says, should it be weaponized, residents have this.
I need to address your trespassing. There is a appeal process in our trespass ordinance to appeal a trespass warning to the code enforcement hearing officer.
But that's to their own employer.
I'm sorry?
They're
No.
wanting it.
No. If somebody has issued you ask if there was an appeals process for a trespass warning.
But use this specific scenario. It's you're wanting it to be repealed from the employer that employs code enforcement. So,
well, they're an attorney. I'm going to assume that they're going to be, unbiased in their opinions. If you feel otherwise, that's your opinion. But I haven't seen that, so.
it's just concerning. Again, I like that there's policies in place, and you're going to start doing training for evacuation routes. That there's going to be safety measures put into place of here's exactly what needs to happen in certain scenarios. I think that is well overdue. I'm surprised we haven't had that already to make sure that our staff feel comfortable should an event happen. But again, I want to make sure that not only obviously do our staff feel in fear at times, our residents have felt in fear here too. Over being weaponized or being harassed by different individuals. So I want to make sure that that is covered so that, again, that we can conduct business because that is what staff are here for, being able to do the city business, but also it's the business of the people.
Well, my intent with this policy is that our citizens are welcome to the city of Apopka into our facilities to conduct legitimate city business. As long as they pass through the security procedures, they can go and do this legitimate city business. I don't know of people, I don't know that I can create a policy that's going to protect everybody from everything or whatever scenarios we want to go through. We've created a policy that is currently our practice as best as we can and make sure that our employees are safe as well as the citizens of Apopka visiting our facilities are safe as well. Because they could, if somebody comes in here and wants to do something nefarious, some of our citizens can be in here too. So we want to make sure that they're protected while they're in here visiting our facility and whatever department they want to visit.
Which is why I was approving of, it was either last meeting or one of the previous meetings. I mean, we have a full-time security team now that'll take care of this instead of having officers coming and getting off the road to do this now. So I'm all about keeping everybody safe. It's just making sure that everyone has equal rights as well.
Well, and that's our goal. I mean, obviously people have recourses if their rights are violated, either through the court system, city administrator, but that's not the intent here. The intent here is to protect our citizens and our employees while they're visiting our facilities.
Okay, thank you.
Just one question,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
that is that previously, from my experience coming in and out of here, is that we were allowing the unhoused or the homeless to come in. They didn't provide any identification. They just wanted to use the bathroom. Is that still a policy that we will allow?
I'm not familiar with that occurring. I haven't
Yeah,
seen or it hasn't been brought to my attention from any officers that have been here
yeah.
that they've had a problem with that.
Yeah. It few times I've come over the years here, we've had some of the local unhoused that are kind of known. They would come and they wanted to use the bathroom, and they were allowed in to use the bathroom.
I would say that policy probably falls, and really, I would say take out of it the housed versus unhoused distinction. If you would allow a member of the public to come into the lobby and look at the artwork, and while there use the restroom, I think you need to apply that same standard to somebody, regardless of their housing status.
But they would go through the security procedures.
Oh, okay. I mean, but I just they don't have a place, and during the 9 to 5, I've been here when. Again, there's some locals that are well known that have come in, and they've come in with me, and they stop at the receptionist, and she would let them come in and use the bathroom.
And again,
so I just want to
it's not to shut the building off for people. It's to make sure
Yeah.
the building is secure for our citizens and our employees.
Yeah.
And if they want to go through the security screening process, and I guess a legitimate business is to use the restroom and then leave.
Okay.
Mr. Smith, anything? Mr. Anderson, anything? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? All right. Before we look for a motion, I just want to thank Chief McKinley and Andrew Hand and Cliff Shepard. It's been a longer time than I thought to get us to this point, but I can assure you that it's critical. I've got staff upstairs and downstairs that have been petrified about what's come through the front door, and they needed a policy that would protect them from, whatever is out there. And I really appreciate, the Chief's worked hard to get us to this point, and I want to thank him and the team for putting this all together. So with that, look for a motion to approve the city building security policy.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second by Commissioner Anderson. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
4-1 with Commissioner Nesta in opposition. Okay. Let's see what we have. Next up, ordinance number 3082.
Ordinance number 3082. An ordinance of the city of Apopka, Florida, changing the zoning from RSF 1B residential single family large lot to RTF residential 2 family for property located at 1770 Sheeler Avenue, owned by Sheeler Development LLC, comprising 9.92 acres more or less, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Amir?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amir Hamza. I'm a planner one. The applicant is requesting a rezoning from residential single-family large lot RSF1B to residential two-family RTF for property located on 1770 Sheeler Avenue, just south of Cleveland Street and north of Sheeler Oaks Drive. These are the vicinity and aerial maps of the 1770 Sheeler Avenue site. The total site area is 9.92 acres and has a street frontage of 654 feet on Sheeler Avenue. The applicant is requesting the rezoning to allow the development of a subdivision that includes a mix of duplexes, which is two-family units, along with single-family homes. Two-family units are permitted use in the residential two-family RTF zoning district per Land Development Code 3.3.6. The future land use for this property is residential low, which has a density of 5 units an acre. Zoning, as mentioned before, is currently residential single-family large lot RSF1B and is proposed to change to residential two-family RTF. The Development Review Committee has recommended approval. At the October 8th, 2024 meeting, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the change of zoning based on the findings and facts presented in the staff report and exhibits. The recommended motion is to accept first reading of ordinance number 3082 and hold it over for second reading and adoption on November 20, 2024. An applicant is here today for further questions.
Okay, any questions for Amir?
That's the residence behind the police firing range.
That would be correct, yes.
And so I'll wait till the applicant comes up.
Okay.
Any other questions for Amir before we bring up the applicant? Okay. Come on up.
Josh Enoch, Kimley Horn, address 200 South Orange Avenue, Orlando, Florida.
Okay, so that's the residence directly behind the police firing range. So my concern is having a home directly behind it. My concern is
It's not really behind it. It's
No.
east of it.
Yeah, correct. So this is east of it,
range
and so the range.
The range goes north and south, and
wait a minute.
the residence will be on the east.
Wait, let me look at it.
So it'd be parallel with the
Yes.
property line.
Okay. This is
That's the range here,
right.
but the range is this way. It's not this way.
Okay, so this is parallel. This is on this side.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Still, I mean, the concern is that when you build a community next to a firing range, what's gonna it create for the resident, the homeowners that are buying into that? They're gonna want the firing range to go away. Yet the firing range was there before they bought. So how are you going to mediate that with the homeowners?
Correct. So I think one of the big things with this property right now is it's currently is zoned to have residential zoning. We can go there and build build residential houses right next to the firing range right now. It's currently entitled for that. Right now, this rezoning, what we're asking for is just to be able to build duplexes. So that's the main objective of this rezoning. As far as addressing being next to the firing range, we're going to do everything per code with RTF, what we would need to provide for a being adjacent to that property, being adjacent to a firing range.
I kind of remember because I was at the development review committee for this one. It's been a while, but I know that was a big concern that now you're going to put uh, homes in this property, and you're allowed to, as you said. Um, but the concern was once the homeowner moves in, what they don't want is to create a where now the homeowners are going to get together, come into the city, and say, "This is a problem for us," when it was always there.
Well, the builder is responsible for providing to the homeowner before they purchase.
Correct.
Okay, so that will be provided. So they will they will sign something knowing that they are purchasing and that the fire range is.
Correct. Yes.
They're responsible to.
But that doesn't stop anybody from complaining to us. We've had
No.
that.
Yeah, I
from
understand
other
that, but I'm
projects.
just
but
to answer her question.
I don't think you can stop
You
anybody
can't
from
stop.
coming and complaining.
So why do you want to zone? Is it going to change how many dwelling units are
No.
on the property?
So the dwelling units will be staying the same. It's still 6 or 5 dwelling units an acre. Currently, it'll be 5 dwelling units an acre when this is rezoned. The only difference between this rezoning or between the two zonings is to allow for duplexes on the site. And so we'll be providing a mix of single family homes and duplexes within this community.
Are they single duplexes or are they attached?
Attached.
Mhm.
So it'll be a few duplexes that are attached, and then there'll be detached single family housing as well within this property.
Because it doesn't matter. I mean, either single family or it's still going to be residents there.
Correct. And this is in line with 2 subdivisions north of Cleveland Street. Both of those are RTF. Both of those have duplexes. So we're just trying to match and bring a product that's going to be very cohesive with what's currently in the city.
Is this going to be a for rent or for sale product?
Yeah.
So right now it's for sale. There's nothing. Yeah, right now it's for sale product.
All right. From your nonverbals, it could go to a for rent.
I'm not positive on that.
Understood.
I'm the civil engineer, so I'm not sure on the
Gotcha.
the specifics.
Would that make a difference if it's for sale or for rent?
From a zoning perspective,
From the
what we're
city
at.
standpoint, does that make a difference?
No.
Okay.
No.
See, okay. I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, anybody from the public wish to speak on this one?
Rod Olson, 3156 Rolling Hills Lane here in Apopka. As part of my responsibilities on Halloween night, I was patrolling the Sheila Oaks division. There are still pumps running with a flooding issue. Increasing the number of people and the pavement in that area is a danger and needs to be looked at before we keep approving more development. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public wish to speak? If not, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion to approve ordinance number 3082 at first reading and hold over for second reading and adoption.
And this is just the rezoning. There's no site plan yet. Where is? Oh, there he is. I was looking for you.
That would be correct. Yes.
This
No,
is just
just
rezoning.
the rezoning change. It hasn't gone to a major development plan yet as of yet.
So there's still time to kind of, if there's anything that needs to be kind of adjusted.
That would be
with that.
correct. Yeah, this is just for rezoning. Once the rezoning is approved, then whenever the applicant submits a major development plan, that's when DRC, if there's any concerns or anything, could change the layout of the side. The way it's.
And I think to your point, I think they understand there's a gun range there that they'll orient the houses the right way. They'll do some landscape buffering. I mean, there'll be some things that, we're not going to approve without some, pretty significant modifications. What would be the normal product on that site. So I would agree.
Okay,
Commissioner Russell.
even to kind of Mr. Rodwellson's concern regarding flooding issues in that area.
I would not be able to comment on that. It's something that you could ask public services.
Coming up.
Bobby?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Bobby Howe, Planning Manager. So number one, the major development plan, they'll have over 25 units. So this will be back before the City Council, it'll go before Planning Commission and City Council. Drainage, all that goes through DRC. It's reviewed by Public Works. They have a civil engineer who's going to design it to all the required stormwater calculations per code.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Look for a motion to approve ordinance number 3082 at first reading and hold over for second reading and adoption.
Okay.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Anderson.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, Resolution 2024-38.
Resolution 2024-38. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Apopka, Florida, establishing its intent to reimburse certain capital expenditures incurred in connection with a capital improvement project with the proceeds of a future tax-exempt financing, providing certain other matters in connection therewith, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and an effective date.
Thank you, Susan. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Blanche Sherman, Finance Director. Again, the city intends to be reimbursed from the proceeds of one or more future tax-exempt financial capital expenditures to be paid by the issuer in connection with certain project. And the project this time is Emerson Parks project. That was brought to you the last council meeting and you approved to proceed. And this is one of the first steps in that process. The resolution is intended to constitute a declaration of official intent. The advertisement will go out tomorrow for 4 consecutive weeks, indicating that intent as well. The reimbursement resolution that we're requesting is in the amount of $3 million, a not to exceed amount of $3 million. The details pertaining to that $3 million is the project cost in the amount of $2 million, a project contingency in the amount of $203,000, a debt service reserve in the amount of $300,000, capitalized interest $150,000, cost of issuance $150,000, a financing contingency about $230,000, and an offset of the contributions from Emerson Park subdivision. The alleyway cost is separate, and that's estimated at about $487,000 with a contingency of about $49,000, and offsetting that $600K to that leaves that excess of about $64,000 that is applied to the project costs. So at this point, we're just requesting authorization to approve the reimbursement resolution. I do have Misty Taylor here, our bond counsel, if you have any specific questions relating to the resolution.
Hey, any questions for either Misty or for Blanche?
What's the timelines now? Should this get approved? I know we had a few meetings ago, kind of that step process. So what comes next?
The next step, this is a 33-step process, and we are now on the third step. For the adoption of the reimbursement resolution, the next step is the publications that go out tomorrow. That has to be done for 4 consecutive weeks. And Susan, thank you very much, has already started that process. So, and after that, we'll come back to council for a public hearing and adoption of another intent resolution. But that's not the reimbursement resolution. That's about the assessment itself. Okay.
And that's what the notice is going out for, the assessment.
Yes. Yes.
And it's exclusive to Emerson Park residents.
Yes.
That notice. Okay.
Yeah. Where it goes is publicized in the paper.
Oh, so it's just in the paper. It's not directly mailed to them.
No, it's not directly mailed
to
them.
So it's published weekly in the newspaper.
Yes.
Okay.
And we have to hire the methodology consultant as well, and working on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for Blanche or Misty? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? If not, we'll close the public.
I got one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. Come on down.
Hi, Dave Woods with Emerson Park. I just want to thank the council for partnering with us on this project. I'm getting one heck of an education here of this 32-step process.
So are we.
Yeah, I know the 12-step process, but I've never heard about a 32-step process. But again, thank you all, and we appreciate your partnering with us.
Great, thank you. All right, anybody else? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve resolution 2024-38.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Anderson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, resolution 2025-02.
Resolution 2025-02. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending the budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024, and ending September 30th, 2025, providing for a budget amendment.
Thank you, Susan. I think I have a. All right. Resolution 2025-02, budget amendment number 2 in the amount of $2,447,905. The first item, again, coming out of general fund operating reserves for additional expenses related to the hurricane. Some more structural restoration work, about $300K. Miscellaneous items, about $200K. And some facility miscellaneous items, so at $243. In a transfer, of course, from general fund to our grant fund, makes it $1,486,000. The second item pertains to the coronavirus projects, and we need to roll those projects over so that we can proceed with those projects. We do have a timeline on those projects to have everything obligated by December 31st of this year. We actually have 2 years after that to expend the funds, but we must have everything obligated. That equates to $961,905. The projects that we're rolling over right now so that we can proceed is the citywide LED lighting conversion project, about $431,000. The City Hall grounding and lightning suppression project, $207,000. We're going to do some additional work on the cemetery improvements with paving and fencing. That project is completed. I think we're ordering some more columbariums and other items that they would like to do. And you just approved the CDBG housing contract award for the 4 homes that are being developed. Part of that funding is coming out of these coronavirus funds, so we want to move that forward as well. And street resurfacing is basically, I'm adding 26,000 there. Those are funds that were savings for some of the previous projects. And we have some funds that we're rolling over for Economic Development Department, about 22,000. And because of the urgency and the need to have this obligated, any savings that we get for some of these projects, I'm going to move forward with putting them in the roadway resurfacing. I'll be back to council as well. So the total with all of that is about 961,905.
Any questions for Blanche? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve resolution 2025-01.
02. 02.
02, I'm sorry.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Nesta, start us out.
Let me just go to the ladies' room.
Yep. Okay. All right. We'll take 5.
My glasses.
Back in session. Commissioner Nestor, start us out.
Well, we don't have our clerk is not here.
Oh,
The city clerk, she's,
Mhm.
we still have to wait for her. She went to the ladies' room too.
all right, Commissioner Nesta, get us started.
You just got a couple things. Just want to remind everyone of office hours that I have every Thursday from 11 to 1. It's been very successful. And it's been very cool to interact with residents on that level because people come from all walks of life everywhere. Some residents that are in Apopka, some that aren't. They just anything and everything they get to talk about. So it's very cool to have those times. And it's been cool to historically be the first commissioner to be able to do that and really create something very cool for our residents and more access and availability to me. So I like that a lot. It's been very cool. And so just a reminder that I do have office hours every Thursday, 11 to 1 here at City Hall. So feel free to come in with whatever you may need, and I'm here to discuss it. The second item, and I'm not going to let this one go, is I'm going to move, and hopefully, Vice Mayor, you will back me on this, to restore public comment to the front of the agenda.
So are you making a
I
motion?
moved, yes.
Well, I will tell you that I have been consistent with that. I feel that public comment should come back in some form during the public council meeting. Because at the end, the live feed is cut off and the public doesn't have access to hear our public to share any of their concerns, any of their issues. We just have to kind of decide if we want to have it after presentations or after the business items, which was suggested. And I feel that that it is an important uh, issue that we've kind of not been addressing. I know that it's been voted on, well, the motion has been made two prior times. I've seconded and it's failed. So we'll try again. I'll second that motion.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nessa to restore the public comment to earlier in the meeting. Got a second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor?
Aye.
I make this motion.
So we got 2 for it, and those opposed?
Nay.
Aye. 3 opposed. Okay.
Okay.
So
Commissioner Nestor?
and I got one more. And to confirm on this meeting as well, Mayor, you are going to cut the live
Yes.
feed again. And you're going to do that in perpetuity
Yes.
to silence the residents. Got it. Weaponizing your agenda. Understood. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Smith.
All is well.
All right. Good for you. Commissioner Velasquez.
Just want to kind of touch on one thing that's important, and that has to do with and let me just get that email, and that has to do with the meeting that we had October 2nd, and that was regarding the surplus of Wells, the parcel on Wells Avenue, that after that meeting, it was disclosed that that particular parcel that we were considering and we did vote on to surplus, that particular parcel has a restriction on it that would not allow us to surplus that property or to even put it out onto the street as a surplus. So I would like to have that reconsidered, that vote reconsidered. Here we are. To make a motion to reconsider, to have the vote in favor of the motion being sought to be considered as surplus, to reconsider it and just change I don't know, is it change the vote or withdraw the vote?
A
How does
motion,
that work?
yeah. So your motion to reconsider is simply a motion to reconsider that item, and so that would, if the motion to reconsider passes, that item would be opened back up, whether this agenda or a future agenda. But the motion
Oh,
to
and then I
reconsider,
would have to move that to a business item
correct.
so that we
That's
can
right. So the motion to reconsider,
officially,
what the motion to reconsider does is it reopens an item that has been voted on prior.
okay.
So let me ask you, and I'm fine with what you're trying to accomplish here. Do we just put that on the agenda for the next council meeting with the understanding she's going to bring up the reconsideration? Would that be a better?
I think the cleanest way to do it actually would be the motion to reconsider tonight, because the motion to reconsider should be in short order. Typically, what Robert's rules really says is it's at the meeting that the vote occurs or at the very next one. So the motion to reconsider is probably best to occur tonight. But if the motion to reconsider passes, that makes that an active agenda item again, at which point, yes, then you could put it onto a future agenda to have the follow up. Because that's really all the motion to reconsider accomplishes. It gets you back to square one.
Right. I just didn't know if we would. Okay, that's fine. Okay.
What can you explain it? I don't understand what you're saying. It cannot be surplus. What's the issues with it? Is
They
it like
had a
deed restrictions on it?
There is a restriction on it, that it can only be, developed as a park recreation.
It-
And it was signed, I think it has, where's, let me ask the finance director to come up, because I did get all the,
And Radley, I don't know if you got any.
yeah, I'm surprised they didn't send this to everyone else, because I had brought it up when I realized that it had a restriction on it.
It's in the grant agreement.
It's in the grant agreement.
Yeah, it's in the grant agreement, and there was some type of certification that was signed. And I
How
think you
many
came by the
years?
office. 25.
25 years.
There is a conversion clause in there as well. That if we choose to do it, we do have to replace that property,
right,
for that purpose.
And what's the address of this?
797 North Wells, if I'm not mistaken.
Right across just east of the Apopka High School baseball diamond.
Okay. So it's, I mean, that would be a deed restriction then, correct?
Yes.
That's a deed
Yeah.
restriction?
Somewhat. Yeah.
It was not disclosed at the time that we voted on it.
I
It's
think
797 North Wells Avenue is the parcel.
I think what was not clear at the time, that the address was revealed at the meeting. And what happened is Shakenya was watching the meeting, and she realized it was that location. And that's when she notified everyone.
That was Dr.
Yeah,
Jackson.
yes,
Right.
yes,
And then,
Dr. Jackson.
And there's
Mhm.
a provision. What does the provision says in the event that the property is?
It is dedicated for that particular purpose for 25 years. And if you choose to,
But I don't even know if this would to you or maybe to Drew is would that what they're talking about is putting a small event center there. Would that not fit under the parks designation? I mean,
Possibly, but I think that's a good reason why to put it on as a future agenda item to
Yeah.
discuss it.
Yeah.
deal with your reconsideration tonight, so that what's been done is
Sure.
undone, and then deal
Right.
with what to do next when you have all the data in front of everybody, rather than trying
well,
to.
and I think we've got what we probably need to do is have the attorney then write a letter to
FDEP.
FDEP and have them weigh in on what and we go one step farther. We haven't, because of the way the surplus ordinance works, we can't say it's rotary. It would be opened
Advertised.
up.
Oh, so that's the rotary parcel. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
And we haven't actually done a resolution yet, and that is the next step. It was just a discussion, and you said you intend to surplus it.
So we got a couple of questions
Yeah.
there.
Right, because initially it was on the council meeting and it was publicly noticed as that we were reviewing 2 leases for that property. And then on the day before the council meeting, it was changed because at the direction of our city attorney was that we did not follow the process of the ordinance 3030, that we needed to first put the property out for surplus. And then it would follow a process from there. And it was after we approved it to be surplus to follow that process when I discovered or was notified that it had a restriction. So
Sure.
the reason why I'm asking for the reconsideration, so it doesn't sit out there as a surplus property. So I
Okay,
guess it would
that's
be
fine.
best
Sure.
to come back as a business item and we can discuss the
That's fine.
parcel
Okay.
So we got that
itself.
from FDEP. How long ago?
That was again a part of the grant agreement. It's not. It's ever since they had the grant and the project was completed. That was in place.
Are you
And
able
there's
to
a
forward?
sign out there. There's a sign out there as well.
Can you forward us all this information,
Of course.
please, just so we can review it prior to that meet, well in advance of that meeting?
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
So,
Mm-hmm.
again, I know we declared it surplus, but I didn't think we were selling the property. I thought in the agreement it was they would have the first option to purchase should we decide to sell it.
Correct.
But you still,
It's still
you're
subject to the
surplusing.
30/30.
We agreed to surplus a property that had a restriction. We didn't. If I had, if
We didn't
that
have the full
information
information.
had been provided to us, I
Well,
would not have voted for it to become a surplus property.
I understand it's not the surplus to sell, that was a surplus to lease. Not the big distinguishing
And
factor.
the lease is covered under 30/32.
Right, but
Just
Right.
so I mean that's fine. We ought to bring it back. We need to get
Mm-hmm.
Drew, if you could draft a letter to, just so we've got that when we bring it back at the next council meeting to FDEP and just so we've got because what they were looking at was a small event center with parking. That was the vision, whether it's Rotary or some other group. That would be, and to find out if that would still fit the criteria that
If they'd have any objections, no problem.
Yeah.
No
Okay.
problem.
And it's a surplus to lease and not a surplus
right,
to sell.
right.
Correct.
Yep. Okay, good. Okay, so we got a motion to reconsider what was that one, Commissioner?
Now you got me confused. Say that again.
What's the ordinance that
Oh,
we're
the
gonna
ordinance
reconsider?
that we were reconsidering. One moment. That we did. That was. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't have that.
Just an item? So
It
just a
was
business
just an item. It wasn't a business item.
Okay, so the business item, which had to do with what was
What's the
address?
property address?
797
797
Wells.
Wells Avenue?
So if you would like some help, a motion to reconsider the declaration of surplus for, and I'm sorry, that address was?
797 Wells.
That would be an appropriate motion.
Okay, so we got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez,
Second.
second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay.
Okay, let me see what else I had here. Okay, we took care of that. Just wanted to say again, congratulations to the 6 firefighters who were awarded scholarships under the 2650 Foundation on behalf of the Austin Durant family. I attended that ceremony last Friday. We also had, just wanted to kind of repeat the retirement of our front desk receptionist, Miss Johanna, who worked, for the last 5 years. She was our receptionist here, and she'll be missed. And then I had the honor on Friday, also Friday night, and I said thank you to the mayor for for giving me that opportunity to do something that I have attended for a few years, but this time I got to award the Mayor's Cup to the winning football team, which was the Wakaiba High School. It was the annual football game that Wakaiba High School and the Blue Darters, and then the winning team gets the Mayor's Cup. My understanding is that the Blue Darters did win, but the trophy, they had the trophy already, so they taking back the trophy. So thank you. It was a fun evening watching it. It was at the end, with the last few minutes, the Wakaiba High School managed to score 16 points. So I just want to say thank you to Mr. Aaron Crawford from Apopka High School and Mr. Biaggi from Wakaiba High School, because they helped guide me as to what I needed to do out there to present the trophy. And congratulations to Apopka Blue Darters. And thank you to both teams for welcoming me so graciously and respectfully. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Anderson. Okay. All right. Next up, Jacob, anything from you? Okay. Drew?
No, sir.
All right. Okay. For the mayor's report, just a couple of things. I wasn't going to address it, but I guess I am now. Commissioner Velasquez, appreciate you bringing up Johanna. What a wonderful lady, and had been here 5 years. And just for the record, she didn't retire; she quit.
Right.
She was four. Well, no, I mean it's not funny. She quit because of what's been going on in the city hall and what police chief McKinley was able to put together, and obviously Cliff Shepard and his team. She quit because of the First Amendment people that harassed her, have harassed staff, and so I think it's important that people know that this ordinance and this and what we've put into place now is protect our employees. There are people they're scared about coming to work because of what's happened over the last year and a half, and so it's a long time coming. But I told the chief, I said, let's get it right, not quick. And so I appreciate everybody and their efforts to get us to this point because safety of our employees is absolutely number one. Nothing else even comes close. And so I appreciate what we've done to get to this point. Next up, so on Friday, 7:30, open the doors. 8 o'clock, it's the State of the City, put on with the help from the Chamber of Commerce. So we're excited for that. So you'll learn a few new things and talk about what we've accomplished this last year. Veterans Day service will be at Kitland Nelson Park, 11 a.m. on Monday, November the 11th. So come on down and be a part of that service. Saturday, November 16th, at Edwards Field. We've had a couple of successful Apopka recyclable days, and so come on down. We're going to recycle not only electronics but all your normal recyclables. If you want to bring a box load of paper, cardboard, plastic bottles, or aluminum cans, come on down. It'll be Edwards Field on November 16th. From 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So we appreciate everybody coming out. And with
Wait,
that,
just one question.
Sure.
Just remind them Veterans Day City Hall is closed.
Yes.
Okay. On 11/16, will they shred the
Yes.
paperwork
Yes.
on that?
Yes.
That?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And
Okay.
Susan, you had something? Oh, yeah. Right. And now. Oh, and one last thing I do want to just. If you get a chance, please, Michelle Boyle, and this is her last, next week will be her last week. Although I was regretfully, accepted her resignation, wanted to let you know in the, 6.5 months? 9? Ooh, I am sorry. In the 9 months she's been here, she's really made an impact on where the city of Apopka is going as it relates to economic development. And so we appreciate where she's gotten the city of Apopka, and we wish her the best in her new endeavors, and hopefully she won't be a stranger to Apopka. So thank you, Michelle, for what you've done to get us to this point. And with that, public comment.